Hi, I'm Max Clark. I'm the founder and CEO of ITBroker.com. I'm going to tell you a little secret here. It's going to save you days and weeks of aggravation and expense and frustration and things along those lines if you're currently shopping for office space. It's going to sound really weird because we're supposed to be in a remote-only world at this point, but companies still have offices, they still have office space, and they still need to put people in office space. So let's just not get into the whole work from home, return to office argument and just say it does happen. Okay, so when you're out shopping for office space and you're looking at different buildings, ask the property manager, ask the leasing broker if the building is using a managed riser company. Do they have a managed riser company that's servicing the building? And if they do, skip the building. Don't sign a lease with them. Move on and find one that doesn't. Look, in the building, you have the minimum point of entry, and this is usually a closet in the basement. This is where all the telco services come into and then are distributed up. And then so from that IMPO, if it's a great building, directly in line with the building, just going up and down, you have telecom closets on each floor, and then there's a conduit that connects each floor, and that's the riser. So if you look at an older building, let's say a vintage, 60s, 70s, 80s building, there's a lot of cable in these risers. There's a lot of stuff installed on the walls, and it's just going to show the history and the lineage of the building and what was there and people moving in, people moving out, and it turns into a mess. So riser companies and managed riser came about to solve a problem, and that problem was how do you identify, tag, and decommission dead cable and not have a complete rat's nest on your hands. So they came from a good place, but this is one of those things where good intentions, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. And now these riser companies have completely just gone off the rails, and the process that we explain to our clients when they've trying to get internet or network service delivered at a riser, at a managed riser building, it kind of goes like this. The order is submitted to the carrier, so you sign the contract. Order is submitted to the carrier. Carrier goes out and tries to do the work. Carrier finds out they can't do the work. Hopefully the carrier already has an ROE, a right of entry or equipment in the building. Let's just assume that they do. Carrier then finds out that they're not allowed to do work in the building. Property management will tell the carrier they have to deal with a riser company. Maybe they already deal with that riser company because the riser company is in a lot of different buildings. And by the way, there's big riser operations at this point. They're becoming very large entities. And maybe the company already has a relationship or has a contact with that riser company and vice versa. The riser company is then going to get that work order and is going to evaluate what it's going to take to run that cable. By the way, the fastest I've seen this process go is 2 weeks. So they're going to figure out what they need to do to run this cable. And then they're going to do the next thing, which is they're going to tell the carrier, this is what it's going to take, aka how much you have to pay us to run this cable. And then we enter into this weird kind of too squishy phase between the riser company and the carrier. Let's just call a spade. Really what it is just the riser company trying to figure out how much money they can extract from the carrier in order to get this cable run, right? So, an opening bid is going to be submitted, the carrier is going to say no, then they're going to come back and revise it. And it's going to go back and forth a few days. And you're not going to have any insight to what's actually happening here because neither parties are allowed to tell you what's going on. And then hopefully they come to a truce and then they make an agreement and then the carrier agrees to pay the riser company what they want or what they agree to. And then the riser company schedules the work. The best case scenario, it's 2 to 3 weeks. The worst case scenario, it's a lot longer than that, and it's added expense. I've seen situations where the riser companies want so much money from the carrier has to pass that cost back to the client. And, whoops, by the way, here's what you thought you were going to pay, but you have to pay this other thing instead because we have to cover our costs. It's unfortunate because you're creating a situation with a non-competitive monopoly that has complete unilateral control with no recourse. There's no recourse. And it just creates pain and aggravation and frustration. The other thing that's crazy about these things is we've seen some buildings that are starting to look at cross connects. So the actual cable that's running between the IMPO and the suite has additional revenue sources. Now, I don't know if this is coming from the building ownership or if this is coming from property management and who's actually collecting these fees and where it's going. But I've seen situations where a client has signed with a preferred carrier. Carrier wasn't in the building. Carrier's in the conduit in front of the building. It's a relatively inexpensive build for the carrier to bring fiber into the building. And then they find out the building wants $5,000, $10,000 for the right to come into the building to do the work. And then they want an additional $5,000, $6,000 a year for them to have their equipment in the IMPO in order to service the building. Now, let me let you in on a secret. Who's paying that money? It's not the carrier. It's going to be you if you're the client in that situation. The way we've dealt with this and the way we counsel our clients that deal with this is to include, here's the big key word, when you're doing leasing negotiations, before you sign the lease, you are at a point of, I don't want to say maximum leverage. Leverage is a probably negative term here in this one, but you're at maximum friendliness where you can get the most concessions and interest out of it because the people that are actually driving that leasing process stand to make a lot of money on your lease. If you're leasing 10,000 feet at $10 a square foot on 5 years, that leasing broker is going to make tens of thousands of dollars off of you, right? So what are they going to do? They're going to make sure that everything they can get you in order to get you to sign that paperwork for them to get paid is going to happen. So we have a bullet list that we give our clients of ask for these things. And no surprise here, ROE, IMPO, riser, those are all included on the list of things that you should ask for, because if you ask for them up front, we've yet to see a situation where it wasn't given, and it makes everything so much better. Anyways, so back to the beginning of this rant. If you can avoid signing a lease with a building that has a managed riser company involved with the building, save yourself so much aggravation and just skip the building. Just skip it. There's other buildings out there that are going to be much easier for you to work with. Because, if you're involved with IT or telecom, you understand this. You get a request at something along the lines of, hey, we signed this lease, we're moving in next week, we need internet. Good luck, you're not getting it. Why aren't we getting it? Oh, because we have to wait for this weird third party that nobody knew was involved to do whatever they want to do in order to get paid however much they want to get paid in order for their timeline. What does that do for your timeline? Oh, yeah, we were going to install next week. We started paying rent next week, but it's going to take us 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks to get service turned on. And the real thing that's really annoying about this is the people that are getting yelled at are the ones that weren't involved in selecting the building, didn't know there was a riser company in place in the first place, have no control over either of those things, but yet why is the internet there? Why can't we install? So don't yell at your IT team if they can't get circuits provisioned because you signed a lease at a building that has a riser company and it's completely out of their control. Anyways, I'm Max Clark. Save yourself some aggravation. Do not sign a lease for the building with a riser company. If you've got any horror stories about this, I'd love to hear yours. I've experienced some amazing ones, but it actually, I think it would make my day. Comment below. Tell me your versions. Love to read them. Talk to you soon.
I feel it.